trick them by switching tempo. Huh? What's this back?
Liven up the intro.
Yeah, you sure did. When are you getting some new pictures?
It's kind of low.
I don't even recognize anybody. No, I don't even recognize any of these people, actually. Who are those?
That's Kevin Burr.
Richie Havens looks a little like Richie Havens 20 years from now. That guy don't
Roy
recognize.
Orbison.
Fred Zimmerman.
Both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Ready? I might as well start later years.
Come on, Mr. Scott. Concentrate on your hand here.
That's Dave Van Marco. Who is that?
Whoa, what a handsome visage that is. Oh. Once again, it is my supreme, superb, and those are all the S's I can think of at the moment, pleasure to introduce South Florida's Mr. Folk, Michael Stock.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to New Traditions. This is a program we tape here live in Dade County, and what we do is we bring you residents of Dade County who have talent, and we like to present a traditional art form in a new setting, kind of like a new tradition, be on the cutting edge of the art world.
The cutting edge, you're right on it.
Well,
last show
beyond
you
the
said
cutting
on
edge.
it.
We like to think of ourselves as trendsetters. And my co-host is Mr.
Especially
Edgar
with
Allan
the
Tola
fashion.
for us.
Very trendsetting.
Well, we'll get
Is this
there.
a new trend with the collar up, Mr.
No,
Stock?
I
Is
didn't even
that,
know. My makeup person was supposed to fix that.
Oh,
before we came in.
wardrobe!
Well, before we get any further, let's first introduce our guest and then go from there. Dave Barry, I'm sure, well, you're a celebrity. Do you know that?
Needs no introduction, I think.
Yes, I guess so.
Well, guys, it's really nice. What do you mean tape it live?
We tape it live. If you
As opposed to what? I mean,
Well, you know, as opposed to stopping and starting again, if a guest asks us a rude question,
okay, yeah.
if it gets out of line, you know, we just have to live with it.
all right.
All right, well, we'll get to Dave later. First, we want to go through our regular segment of our T-shirts, new T-shirt segment. And if you were watching the last week, you realize I haven't been getting any T-shirts in the mail. And although I do want to promote your organization, your arts or crafts or music organization, I'd love to promote it on the air with the T-shirt, but you got to send it in first, all right? And that's it's a large I take. And today's shirt, see, no one's been sending. This is the T-shirt from my college days. It's so old. We had a Beatles convention. It's so old that the radio station was Quad 102, who was promoting it. And there's no more Quad stations. That's instead of stereo. There's Quad, but that's no more. But all the Beatle fans love this shirt, and that's why I wear it. Now,
It's a collector's item of sorts.
I
As
guess
I think
so.
this might be too, because it's a very old advertisement for
What does it say? See, this
soap. And it says Sally's pretty and Sally's smart, and you know, I think this might be good for for our guest because you know, he's becoming quite a celebrity now and probably be on TV a lot, not just our show.
Well, what's it say?
And it says Sally used cosmetics the way she what does it say? She uses cosmetics as she always has, but removes them thoroughly the Hollywood way. Guard against unwarranted cosmetic skin, unattractive cosmetic skin,
That's
and unwarranted
fascinating.
too, I suppose.
That's fascinating.
Mm.
Well, I don't know what it has to do with our guest, but
Well-
we could continue.
Well, and this is endorsed by Loretta Young.
I see. So Mr. Barry could get
Like
into
most
the T-shirt
girls, I
business.
use rouge and powder. Yeah, it goes on.
Well, we do want your T-shirts, and we'll be happy to wear them on the air. And I don't see what else you'd want more in life than that. So just send it in to Wear My T-shirt, and that's my name, Michael Stock, and that's actually WLRN Studios here in downtown Miami. So send in a large. That's why you haven't been sending in, because I haven't been telling you it's large. Okay. To introduce, let me give you a little introduction. All right, it's kind of practice my skill here. Pulitzer Prize winner, which I'm, well, and author, syndicated columnist, and above all that, you write for the Tropic at the Miami Herald.
The crowning achievement, yeah.
That's it. It was well, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Michael. Nice to be here. My T-shirt is just skin with a wire on it, which is
please,
a lot of kids are doing
Come
today.
on now.
You kids out there, you get your wires and send them in.
We do need sex on the show, so I want to thank you for
You need
supplying
sex
that.
on this show?
And we'd like it to involve a woman.
Wasn't
That's why we
enough
brought
just
our
before
other-
the show, Michael?
Well, the ratings. It helps the ratings.
Yeah.
Before I go on, this is bothering me. I don't know about you, but we had an empty chair, and Mr. Poe decided to fill it. So can you explain your
Well,
motivation
I thought
behind
since
that?
we had a representative from the Miami Herald, it was only fair to have one from the Palm Beach Post. And since we were talking about having sex, I thought there should be at least a woman on here. And
Does it have a name?
Venus de Poe?
Let me just say, though, it's really speaking on behalf of the Herald that although we do compete in terms of circulation and advertising with the Palm Beach Post, they really are stiff competition for us. And they do a heck of a job considering they have no arms or legs or brains. And really, even though on the playing field we're bitter enemies off, we're the closest friends.
No, she has no hair.
Well, I'm glad to see that there's a friendly rivalry between your papers. And, well...
And you were concerned about having this guest, too. You thought it was going to take away from our other guest, our Herald guest, our local guest, but...
And I, you know, Dave Barry, this is a real opportunity to have Dave Barry here, and I'm going to do more than just do your normal interview and talk about the books he's written and find out...
Let's not talk about the books.
No, right, well, it's good things to make fun of, but I don't want to get into that stuff. I want to talk about what Dave Barry's really like and find out
who is
Dave Barry, and to the best as we can...
The man underneath the wire.
Or want.
About Dave Barry's sex life. I think that would be interesting, too. All right, so
we can cover that in no time.
We could? Let's talk about other things. You weren't always a comedy writer.
No, at one time I was a baby, as is true of so many of us. But from that point on, I was... Yeah, there was a long stretch in there.
All right, well,
we've known to future historians as the stretch during which I was not a comedy
Well,
writer. So I see you've done your homework, Mike.
It's pretty... That sounds like it would be pretty boring stuff, so let's just skip
all at high school. I wish we could have.
A lot of writers say they write because they have to write. Is that true in your case? Do you feel like something you have to do? Or?
I write after I make a major consumer purchase. That's how I feel. You know, I write. Well, in a way, though, that's true. I think that the difference between people who write for a living and people who don't write for a living is not really writing talent. This is evidenced by all the people who write for a living. But the people who write for a living really want to. And I'm always talking to people who want to be writers, and they go, well, how do you be a writer? What do you do? And I always say, well, you write. And they always look like that's cheap, nah. There's got to be something else to, because writing itself really sucks for the most. Sit down, it's boring.
It's hard work.
Yeah, there's no fun to it. It's not what people imagine. So they want there to be something more to it that that makes you a writer. And they want to go to seminars about writing, and they want to talk about writing. They want to get Writer's Digest magazine, but they don't actually want to write. Whereas people who write, I think, really do sort of need to. I know that I feel sort of unvalidated if I haven't written anything recently. I mean, like that day, if I haven't written at least a paragraph or something, I don't feel too good.
Do you read?
I read a lot, but nothing, like I never read the Brothers Karamazov, even when I was supposed to, even when I was writing English papers about it.
Anything that doesn't have pictures? Or?
Yeah, I avoid non-pictorial matter.
This might be a scary thought, but I talk to people, and they really like your writing.
That is a scary thought, Michael. Well, you're talking to people. You mean out of the studio?
I speak to people who read what you write, and it's like you're talking to them. It's like you're able to talk to them on the same level. Does that scare you?
Well, yeah. There's something wrong with those people.
It's
no. I mean, part of that I think is that newspapers are so aggressively boring and pompous. Newspaper writing is, and really people who work in newspapers are just like everyone else, except they pick their noses a little more often. But other than that, they're just like you and me, and but they try so hard when they write to not be like that. Everybody sort of adopts this sort of Walter Cronkite persona, voice of God, which doesn't really fit their personalities that well. And so when a person writes sort of normally, or like more the way people talk, and talks about things that actually concern people, which generally, let's face it, don't involve Lebanon so much as your lawn, or your dog. People like that; they respond to it.
I want to back up.
Nice, good question there.
Should I take over, Mr.
No, Mr. Poe,
sentence alert.
I just want to find out, before you worked for Tropic, what did you do?
I was actually a writer, freelance writer, but really making my living as a writing instructor. I taught business people how to write better memos, and I traveled around the country, go like the DuPont Corporation plant somewhere, in some horrible place.
And who were you working for at that time?
I worked for a little company run by a big guy, actually. He was quite tall. And there was like 3 of us. We traveled, and we were consultants, which meant we didn't work all that often. It was kind of a fun job. But I wore a suit, carried a briefcase, went in, I'd get 32 engineers sitting in front of me, or 32 accountants or whatever, and I'd say, "Come on, guys, come on, lighten up." And I spent basically 2 days telling them to be
Jokes.
brief. I did tell an awful lot of jokes. I learned to speak in front of. That was one of the great advantages of the 8 years I did that. I learned to get up in front of any group in the world and not be. You're always nervous, but not show it. You know, and I would, I tell a whole lot of jokes during those.
So is it more of a selling of your personality than actual how to write these technical?
No, I mean, what I was telling them was actually good, useful information, but you can't sit people down and talk about writing for 2 days
It
and
sounds pretty
not have them all,
boring to me,
you know,
yeah.
crash down, break their noses hitting the desk in front of them.
Speaking of boring, Mr. Stark, this
Boy, yeah, this really is.
taking a real
And then-
serious tone here. Let's get
And then
back
I
to
was
the
living
sex
in Glen
life,
Mills,
huh?
Pennsylvania.
What was that, Mr.
Sex life, sex life.
Okay,
something,
well,
with
I
a
guess
little
we could
All right, well, let's
Yeah,
just
but I-
all share our sex life secrets. Go ahead. Alan, you're 1st
Let's start with Venus here.
It's over there.
You
No.
were right, Mr. Stark. He didn't want that guest
I
next
guess
to him.
so.
You know, Mr. Stark
Well, I
was
can't stand it when
concerned.
somebody keeps butting and butting and butting in.
He was afraid you weren't going to be able to compete. I said, don't worry, he could take it.
Okay,
I'm
well, let's
sure.
get Mr. Poe. The joke is over. Let's go on to better things. Are you married?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I guess he has no sex life.
That's
I
right.
guess talk about that. I figured, well.
Well,
Any other topics?
Speaking
we
about
can-
sex, I don't want to bring up your books, but you do mention sex a lot in your books. You, I know, Marriage and Sex and
Right.
Dave Barry Slept Here. Doesn't he?
Well, the Dave Barry Slept Here is not really what you call a heavily sexually
Well,
oriented.
Sounds
book.
pretty suggestive to me.
Does it? That's good.
Slept, you know, people
That's-
think.
I would say it says more about you, really, than it does about me or the
It
book.
implies that you sleep around. You know, you slept here, you slept there.
I have slept just about everywhere in the United States, but that's mostly
See?
because I was going on tours for this book, which is a good way to destroy your sex life, actually.
Is that
And
do
everything
you
else.
do you do that by choice, going on tour?
No, I mean, it's the worst part. Nobody tells you about that when you write books, and you think you write a book, it's done, you send it off, and then it's over. And actually, that doesn't even count. They don't care what the book has. They want to know if you're good on TV and if you'll tour for the book.
Well, how do we compare to David Letterman? I know you've.
Hey,
been there.
we've already been on like 20 minutes longer than I was ever on.
Yeah, it must be a better show then, huh?
The thing is, there's a thing on big national shows called the author's spot, which is after the turtle that can sing, after Bo Derek's former boyfriend, after every last possible act they get, then comes the author, like for 1 minute. And that's where I always end. So I probably end up flying to New York and then getting on a plane flying overnight to L.A. for a grand total of like 3 minutes on the national on these shows that nobody I know watches. Who watches these shows?
It must help your sales, though, or does it? Do you know?
They keep saying that. On the other hand, it's a good way for them to get guests for free.
Well, they pay your expenses.
Actually, the Letterman show and like the Sajak show, the Tonight Show, they do pay. They have to pay.
Wait. You've done Pat
Oh,
Sajak?
no. Why didn't you
Not only have I done,
goodness.
that was actually the best one. Not only did I do it, I'm going to do it again.
Really?
I had more fun in that show. I went on, and the guest before me was David Carradine, who was either completely drunk or completely, or just beamed down from Jupiter.
Was stoned? Was that?
Walked out on stage and fell down, and then
Oh,
got up
gosh.
and said it was a joke, but nobody really thought it was a joke, and even if it was a joke,
It
it
looked
didn't come
real.
off as a really great joke. It was one of those uncomfortable moments. So the result was they cut his segment real short, and I was like on for a long time.
Great.
I was also on with the famous, with Willie Shoemaker, the jockey, was on that show, and this was the big thrill for me. Michael Damian, huh?
Michael
That
David.
was my reaction.
Michael Damian.
He's this big rock star who wears unbelievably tight pants and virtually all of the contents of the Exxon Valdez in his hair, And he's on some soap opera, and he has, he makes terrible rock music, and kind of like remakes the songs that weren't that good anyway,
Doesn't it amaze you that people of that caliber, I don't know him either, but people of that caliber get on a Pat Sajak show? I mean, where do these people come from? What are
This guy is probably a big star. Just
He's
'cause
huge.
we
He
don't
was the
know
big
him.
thing that night. He was the thing that night. Oh yeah, the audience was full of these screaming young girls. Hey, but we had to do that sometime. We had to do a contest, the worst remake ever. And I would like to nominate Rita Coolidge's remake of Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson. But there have been others. Tracks of My
This song
Tears
wasn't
by
that
Linda
good to start
Ronstadt.
with.
Oh, I have a
Let's
lot
face
of
it.
those, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
really
a lot
bad
of those.
remakes where there actually ought to be like a jail term involved. If you remake a certain kind of song, a good song, worse than it was originally.
Now, this is getting good. I think we're kind of veering to the important thing here that we're talking about. I want to put you on the spot and ask you some questions that Well, it's one that's on my mind at least. Remember a few years ago in Tropic magazine, I guess it was when you were struggling for an audience or something, but they had a little little picture of you wearing all these weird clothes?
Yeah, I used to have, well, I can explain that. The art director of Tropic magazine is a guy named Philip Brooker, who is an artist and an English person, and probably one of the most vicious people in the history of the human. Tropic is basically a collection of psychopaths, really. I'm the only close to normal person who works there.
Okay.
Philip Brooker is one of those guys, he'll have a photo shoot where I'm supposed to get a headshot taken, and you know, I'll do 9 million where I basically look like Eric Severai. You know, just nice, serious, right? And then, like, once I'll do this, you know. Philip will make 80 million prints of that and send it all over the country. Now, I did one column once about dressing, how men should dress, and for a gag, put on this Salvation Army, almost as bad as the one Mr. Poe was wearing, jacket. And that was going to be on one column, right? Philip made 1 trillion copies of that, sent it to every newspaper in the United States, and then sometimes I'll go and I'll be at speaking at some newspaper convention somewhere where they have like a series of speakers and they have a little program and they have everybody's picture, you know, like normal person, dork. So that picture has just haunted me. It's followed me around.
Yeah, it's probably got you lots of publicity, made you a colorful character. I can understand these things.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad that you...
Take a question.
what other
questions away.
I read the promo of your show in New Times and was wondering, are you listening to TV Guide?
That's right, we're talking about that. Well, since you bring
Mike
it
was
up...
trying to mention that all last show. He's trying to get that out.
What?
Yeah,
I was going to read this a little bit. This was Greg Baker wrote this for New Times. Because we're a cable TV show, locally produced, the Herald doesn't even list us.
Really?
Yeah, it's because it's an
Well, we
educational
did get a
channel
blurb
too.
in the Herald, though. That's
So-
Doug Aderson. And I understand you
Oh, yeah,
and Doug
thanks,
Aderson
Doug.
have a blues band.
Well, we have performed several times together, including here in the WLRN studios, the famous Tupperware song.
I would like to invite the band.
The band
on
to come
show
on.
for a future
Okay,
show.
well, you
We
all
can do that.
interrupted me. I was talking about something. You just...
Oh, yeah,
rudely
let's go.
interrupted me.
Let's get back to promoting
When you're
ourselves,
talking, you
Mr.
just stand there sort of drone
Wait a
on and on, whereas Edgar and I have these like fascinating things.
Yeah.
But you don't understand. I'm the host of the show.
Yeah, that's sort of a problem here.
It's also
Maybe we
the
should get old.
producer.
I'm the producer too. So if I could read this little thing here, Greg Baker from the New
Producer's
Times.
supposed to be like somewhere off in the distance lining up guests. That's his job. Not okay. Never mind.
My
That just shows what
You
kind of
think so,
producer he
Dave?
is. He has to provide his own talent,
Well-
and that's why he's stuck with me, and even worse, himself.
I'm not hearing any of this because I'm trying to do this.
I just want to make an appeal to
You
our
wanna talk
audience.
about
When you
Bob
send in the
Marley?
T-shirts for Michael, also send in some like shoulder pads so he'll look just a little hipper with the jacket again. Okay? Thanks. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
I don't think it'd help.
I saw the movie Broadcast News. Supposed to sit on it. I always forget to do that.
dang,
Okay.
I forgot
No,
about
it's
that.
uncomfortable. Though. Anyways, if I could get through this.
Does that look better?
Greg Baker wrote, the cable TV show New Traditions is creating a buzz. A buzz? Where did he get that word from,
I
Mr.
don't know,
Poe?
the
Mr.
60s.
Stock.
I
I'm glad
remember
you
that word.
mentioned that because some people have mentioned to me that have watched the show, they always wonder what we're on when we do the show, and it makes me a little nervous. I don't think that's something.
Just
I mean,
this-
let's face it,
yeah.
we start taping this at 9:30 in the morning. What could we
Well-
possibly be doing?
Well, okay. Well, that's the.
None
Thank
of the
you.
vials are showing, right?
The second sentence is Folkmeister and sometimes banjo player Michael Stock and actor Edgar Allan Poe co-host the program. It's catching on partly because of the host's shtick, bickering and fighting, sort of like unlobotomized
I
Siskel
don't
and
think we
Eberts.
do that. We don't bicker and fight, do we, Mr. Stock?
I don't think we do, Mr.
No,
Poe. But
no.
let's get back to our.
I don't think unlobotomized is accurate either.
I thought it's a compliment. That isn't that a compliment?
Sure,
Unlobotomized?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
accurate.
All right, so let's get down to business. We call the show New Traditions.
You know, it's about every 3 minutes he says, "Come on, now let's get on."
This is our show.
What is this?
I want order here. I want control. Now,
Okay.
let me ask you.
Yes.
We call
Mr.
this show
Stock.
New Traditions. We asked our guests to do something traditional in the new way. And did you come prepared? Do you have anything?
No.
Okay, well, let's go on. You have won a Pulitzer Prize.
I thought you were going to mention that.
You
Don't you think he's
Honestly, I
tired of
said
talking
that.
about a Pulitzer Prize? I mean,
Are you
my
sick-
goodness,
are you tired
everybody
of
must
talking about-
mention that.
Is
Hey,
it-
here's the traditional question you ask. Has it really changed for you that you won? Now that you've
Okay, well, it hasn't changed
yeah,
for
you
you.
said
I'm a lot
person?
taller and better looking. Probably you noticed that.
I figure you put a lot of pressure on you now that you know all the people who win Pulitzer Prize or give out those awards are reading all your columns now.
Nah. They don't read them. They just give out prizes. I was actually a judge for the Pulitzer Prizes last year, so I know what
judge?
a ridiculous process it is. After you read enough newspaper columns. There's no functioning brain cells anyway.
How did you get picked? That's quite impressive.
When you win it, sometimes they pick you to, yeah.
Then I guess
Very
So
foolish
who did you vote
concept.
for? Anybody we know?
Well, I was in they'd break into categories, and I was in the criticism category, believe it or not. So I was reading a lot of like movie
So
reviews.
you probably voted for Bill Cosford. You said, "Oh, that Bill Cosford."
No, you're not allowed. You have to
great."
excuse yourself from the jury when it's somebody you know, somebody for your paper.
I see.
Although I really like Cosford's review.
Oh, yeah,
I just
me
want to
too.
say
He's
that.
great.
So, so what is the? Give us the dirt about working at the Herald. I mean, you hear all these.
Well,
stories.
okay. Every day, first thing we do, we come in, we sit down, we have a meeting, say, how are we going to slant the news? Okay? Now, like lately, we've been slanting the news against Israel. Now, it's a big group of us gets together and slants the news that way. And sometimes we get large cash payments from lobbyists or, in some cases, actual Arabs wearing robes to slant the news. We do that.
No, I don't care.
We
about
also
the
like to
news
put in a
part.
lot of innuendo, and we basically deliberately hype the stories to sell newspapers.
Oh no.
Yes, that's what's going on. Yes, indeed.
The Herald.
That's
I
what we
don't believe
do.
that.
So you slant the stories. I was wondering why the columns were looking kind of crooked.
Yeah,
Especially ones on Israel. You gotta kind of.
Well, no, so you misunderstood the question. I didn't want to know how the Herald mislants the news. I want to know about you personally.
Oh,
not
me personally?
The person sitting next to you at Tropic Magazine. Do you like him?
That's Joel Achenbach. He and I are just like that.
Have
You know what we do at Tropic? We do like, I go into Tropic for recreational purposes. I write at home and do almost everything important, significant at home, at least for me, significant at home. And I go into Tropic to play roller chair ball, throw the little ring thing on the, send personal messages on the computer system and
Is
stuff
Joel
like
pretty
that.
good at this? Is he?
Joel is
stiff
terrific. Joel is the
competition, or-
absolute best non-worker I've ever seen. When he
Oh.
actually writes his stories, no one knows. We've never seen him do it. He just
He does it at home too.
He must.
Yeah. He learned from his.
Have you noticed that Joel Achenbach? I mean, I enjoy his writing, and I enjoy yours too. But does your style creep over to his style at all? Or?
Joel flagrantly rips me off every chance he gets. It's a known fact. It's something that I've just had to learn. No, I don't. People say that, but to me, Joel's style is Joel's style. I like Joel's style.
All right,
I think
let's
he
talk
should
about other
stick,
stuff.
I
No,
think
just
he should stick to the fluff pieces about personalities, local personalities, like local actors,
Okay,
and blues
yeah,
singers.
'cause Joel went to an
saw
article.
brilliant
Yeah, well, he really
pieces.
broke your career, didn't he?
He sure did.
Why things went right through the roof for you after that story came out.
Absolutely. I got my own TV show, Time for the Most Speaking Roles in Miami Vice. It all came right after that
And you're
article.
in-
Just boom.
You're in, you're acting now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Weingarten. Gene
Sure,
Weingarten said he went and
yeah.
saw you, said you were
Yeah.
good.
Who saw this?
Gene Weingarten. He went to see you in your play.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he
Great.
said you were good.
Which one did he see?
I don't know.
Well,
recent.
we got to talk about something important now. Although I just will mention in closing this little segment, Alan loves to talk about himself.
Oh, yeah.
He's waiting for Tropic to do one of those follow-ups.
Yeah,
like
where's
what are
that
they doing
follow-up
now,
story?
That kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Where is
I'm waiting.
Didn't we do it? Follow up on you? I don't know.
Isn't that true? But we're talking to Dave.
I thought we did
Barry.
you with the same time we did the follow up on whatever happened to the Asian cockroaches. No?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
No,
so
I
so there's
didn't.
something something about your article, your column. What subjects have not you talked about in your
Have
column?
not I talked about?
Yeah.
Well, forsooth. I don't know. I wish I knew because then I'd write about it.
Well, I have an idea that
Okay.
affects.
I don't do
remember.
requests. I just want
Well,
to
it's
stress that.
just a suggestion that all men are concerned about, and I don't remember seeing anything about it, but it's about balding.
I'm writing a book now about turning 40, and which I did 2 years ago. And one of the chapters is going to be Your Deteriorating Body, and it'll discuss at length the issue of guys going bald. And it will especially stress the comical nature of efforts that guys make to overcome it.
Okay.
And I want to stress that I'm not putting down guys who are, just because I happen to have a thick, luxurious head of hair, doesn't mean I'm in any way looking down on chrome domes out there, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that guys who grow like one enormous sideburn from hell and try to, are not fooling the general public. That's all I'm saying. They get these comb-overs, it must look perfect from head on, but everyone else looks like a kind of bizarre tropical
Yeah.
spider clutching a billiard ball.
Really, the only way to fool him is to wear a hat.
I think
I think
I
that's
had that, yeah.
very effective.
I like that. Oh, just go around like this, or I just go, I don't know what to do. Oh,
I
hey.
All right, well, let's talk about other things about. Let's
I
talk
love
about.
his segues, you know what I mean? Just
Well,
like-
because there's so much I
you
want
need
to
a new
cover.
segue besides now let's talk about. You
Mr.
need, you
Stock
need
is
to
really
somehow
hoping
say,
maybe you could tell him
speaking of
something.
hats,
Okay. Speaking of hats, where do you do your clothes shopping?
at a hat store. Why, are you saying something about my ensemble?
No,
I'm not really a clothes. This is as dressed up as
He
I
looks
get.
great,
I'm really
yeah,
I'm really
looks
dressed
fine.
up because
I-
I was going to be on
very
TV
yuppie.
today and I have to go to lunch and
Very
I do it.
Oxford.
Thank
It's
you.
nice.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Old
It's-
money.
It's a
Yeah.
personal thing because
Yeah, I have some old money, in fact.
I was looking for a place to shop, and I figured I shop the same place
Place
Dave
Dave
Barry
Barry
shops.
sure.
So that'd be good. All right, so let's talk about
See that? That's his,
Oh, see,
that's his
that's it.
only segue.
How does Pat Sajak?
Now we gotta work on it.
Let's hope. All right.
Well, how does Pat
Enough.
Sajak do it? How does
Back
he
to
do it?
business.
Well, he listens to what you say, and then he makes some kind of like witty transition to the next thing. Now, you should watch. You can use some of Pat Sajak's verbatim. Well, of course, I'm sure he does watch
This
the
is
show.
really what we need. This is why we
If,
have this
if
for Mr.
Pat
Chuck.
Sajak-
Well, you know what? You could
Yeah.
have a little file card folder full of segues, and just pull one
That's a
out.
good idea.
Next segue is.
Well, if Pat Sajak was here, he'd probably say, as that one, he'd probably say, how's family life?
Mine
He
personally
probably
is.
would say that too. He's
Yeah,
just
you
the
would.
type of guy.
Because
that
who
would
cares,
do-
really?
Well, you do most of your writing at home.
Does your son still wear that earring? Is what we really want to know.
No, but he has a real long tail, way down the longest tail in the elementary school, and he has to sort of defend that. I mean, other kids make fun of it and yank on it and stuff, but he's
So
determined.
you were just making that up about the earring then? That story you did about him wearing an earring? And it's
No,
all
I
like
said
just-
someday that's what he'll do next.
Oh.
But he wears this haircut. Like me, I would basically favor the monkeys look from and I like my kind of hair where you just basically stick it out the window on the way driving somewhere,
That's the
and
way it
that's
blow
it.
dries.
That's all
Yeah.
you need.
Gets
Whereas
blow
he
dried
has
that
this long thing going down the back. That you have to comb. He gels his hair and stuff like that.
I think
he's
maybe
8 years
confused.
old.
It wasn't an article about the earring, huh? It was the haircut.
Haircut. Yeah, it must have
Darn.
been some other humor.
You see, I did my
Could have been
research.
Joe Achenbach. He
The
writes
one
just
article
like I
read
do.
of his,
'Cause he
and I
doesn't have a
messed
kid.
it up.
Dave, I would be better at my segues, but what happens is that my co-host, who I like to think of as Ed McMahon type, talks too much. And
Yeah.
so I try to keep things rolling, and he just kind of interrupts.
See, I'm supposed to laugh at his jokes, but since he never really tells
Laugh
me
at
that
his
are
segues.
funny,
They're really funny. Okay, now let's talk about what, Mike?
Oh, which reminds me, the show's just about over, so I gotta say goodbye and thanks for tuning into New Traditions. But I don't want to, I don't want to waste this time. So let's talk more with Dave Barry, and then just run the credits, and then
Maybe
we'll.
he can make fun of our credits. I'm sure he has some very witty things to say about. Well, they're not.
No,
wrong.
well, I found out earlier that Dave Barry doesn't even watch the show.
Our camera person.
I will
tell
from
him-
now on.
Do you
Now-
have a favorite TV
Now that I
show?
know how.
Do you
No.
watch TV at all?
Of course not.
Oh,
No, actually, I don't watch that much television.
As far as I'm concerned, if you can't watch.
But I will.
Okay,
I'll
but you-
start. Wow, when is this show? When is it aired locally?
Oh.
I'll tell you.
It's a good time to insert that
I
one.
don't have cable, so I never
Thanks,
watch it.
what a
It's hard to
segue.
say,
Dave Barry, thank you very much for coming to the show, and
Answer his
they'll
question, Mr.
run the
Scott.
they could run the credits while we're talking. I
Answer
guess.
the question.
But you can watch New Traditions every Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon, every Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning, and every Thursday evening at 10 o'clock at night. And well, Dave, what time do you get to sleep at night? What's your
How come I
daily
can't get my hand
schedule?
outside these letters here?
See, he's saying funny things about the credits already.
No, let's talk serious. I want to be serious with you. You're always funny. When are you
Serious
not
earlier in
funny?
the show.
Let's get real.
Earlier
Let's
in the
get
show
real.
when you were asking those boring questions, you got pretty
Yeah,
serious.
I poured my guts out here.
What's the worst question any interviewer ever asked you?
The one that I hate the most is, where do you get your ideas?
Okay.
Well,
Where do you?
yeah.
That is a
Hmm.
well. You're asking me that?
Yeah, where do you get your segues? I guess.
Do I
would be
get
the
my
question.
segues? It comes natural.
When do you get your T-shirts? You just beg for T-shirts. You get all your clothes.